Hey, it's Mitch Bach from Tourpreneur here with a quick note before our episode begins. This week's Tourpreneur podcast is sponsored by TripAdmit. TripAdmit has come up with a fantastic new product called Tap to Tip. I remember being a tour guide 20 years ago and just waiting for that awkward moment at the end where your guests fumble into their pockets and whip out cash, or they don't. And that sort of all changed during the pandemic. We stopped using cash, and now everyone's dealing with PayPal accounts and Venmos and QR codes. John McGuire, you're the CEO of TripAdmit. You came up with something new. What did you figure out?
Hey, Mitch. We've developed a digital tipping solution for the guides so that the guides, we provide them with a NFC card, which they can tap off the back of their guests' phones. That will open essentially a web app, and then the guests can tip the guides digitally, either by Apple Pay or by credit card or whatever payment method of their choice. Because as you mentioned, it's the world is going cashless, and certainly is timely for the guides to look at digital tipping as a source of income.
So no app downloads, no scanning, no typing things into your phone. You just hold this card up to your guest's phone, and voila, they've got some convenient options to tip. Does the web app do anything else?
Reviews and ratings. But what we've done is we've taken the reviews and ratings one step further and integrated ChatGPT, so that ChatGPT it allows the guest to input into the review, but also ChatGPT will help write the review for the guest, and they can post it onto TripAdvisor or onto Google or onto the website of the activity book.
This sounds like seamless hand-holding to get guests to tip and review. That sounds like money in your guides' pockets and a great service you're providing. If our operators want to learn more, where should they go?
Well, if they want to know more, go on to tripadmit.com/tap to tip, and all the information is there.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Mitch Bach, and it is another Tourpreneur Roundup, a fast-paced 20-minute episode in which we go through what is happening in the world of Tourpreneur and also in the greater tours and activities and attractions and experiences industry. I am joined today with a full house. We have Peter Syme, Chris Torres, Nikki, Rivera, and a special guest from the world of Tourpreneur Multi-Day. We have Matt Newton, the host of the Tourpreneur Multi-Day podcast. Good morning, everyone. Or afternoon or evening. We are spanning all of the time zones right now. And I'm just going to dive in because we have a lot to cover today. First of all, what the heck is happening around Tourpreneur right now? What do we have in terms of events coming up? I wanted to highlight 3 events. I'll save the best for last. Seville, Spain. Only the best because it's in person. But we do have 2 virtual events coming up very shortly. We have a live stream show and tell episode of our sort of continuing travel technology series over the year. And that is going to be with this month's sponsor, which is John McGuire from TripAdmit. TripAdmit has created the hopefully now familiar tap to tip service in which your tour guides can get tipped through tapping a little NFC card and also using ChatGPT to enhance or assist in writing reviews. So we're going to actually do a live demo of that. That's on Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern, right in the Facebook group or in the LinkedIn group. And next up, a week later, we have, and really, I don't know how to describe this. Show and tell doesn't quite capture what's going to happen with resident AI mad scientist Alex Bainbridge. Nikki and I are going to be there, and Peter as well, talking through the strange new world of creating, I guess, humanoid interfaces that are replicating what tour guides are trying to do, but also much more generally the larger implications of what a tour guide should fear or see as an opportunity in terms of the way that AI is challenging the guide's role as information giver. So we're going to dive into that meaty topic. Nikki and I both work with tour guides daily, and so we're very interested in diving into that with Alex. As always, all of our events are listed every single week in the Tourpreneur Weekly Digest. It should be your go-to source for news and information, not only about Tourpreneur, but also about the general industry. We share our must-reads and articles off the tops of our heads each week with related to what's going on in our brains or the industry or what we're hearing from tour operators out there on the ground. Finally, the big main event coming up in November. We have some big announcements to make about Tourpreneur Connect, our multi-day tour operator event happening in Seville, Spain at the end of November. Nikki, what's going on in the world of planning for the event?
We have booked a venue, which is very, very exciting. From the very beginning, I think we had said, this isn't going to be in some chain hotel in a room that's nondescript where you're stuck in there all day and the coffee service is in the corner. We've booked Casa Salinas, which is a locally owned 16th century palace located in the historic center of Sevilla. And it is gorgeous. Like if whatever you're picturing right now is a 16th century palace, that's it. It's incredible. We're going to have 3 different rooms. So for each of our tracks, we'll have rooms with, AV seats. You're not going to be sitting in a museum, but it is operational and it is gorgeous. So that is booked. We're set to go. There's tons of hotels, all different prices, some very well costed ones within a 10-minute walk, 5-minute walk, tons of beautiful little coffee shops. Coffee's going to be out and about. When you have a break, you're going to go outside, get fresh air. We're going to inject our money into the local economy. It's going to be so good. We've also started booking speakers, which is very exciting. We're going to have some local people from town, from Andalusia. We're going to have some guests coming in. Our headliner, our keynote, we just booked and posted in the Facebook groups. You've probably already seen, but Hala is the GM of Intrepid Travel Morocco. And the Morocco team is pretty incredible. It's one of their bigger DMCs, and they really do some incredible community-based tourism activities that they inject into their itineraries, but they've also done a lot locally, politically, in getting more female tour leaders working on their trips in Morocco. So they've just done a lot, and she's going to be speaking on how you can actually change the way people see the world through tours, right? So going a little bit bigger than just putting together a cool itinerary and selling.
I love that because as the leader of it, as the general manager, it's not just pie in the sky, happy thoughts about how this could work as a business if the world were perfect. This is a leader with a team of over 75 people taking those principles and putting them into action, making money off of it as well. I recently heard the phrase, which was new to me, in the sort of nonprofit world or fundraising world, no money, no mission, right? You can care all you want, but if the money's not coming in to support that, then you're actually not doing your mission any good. And so I think Intrepid has actually created a really powerful balance of leading with principles, but also being, I'm pretty sure, an enormous multi-day tour operator on the backs of that. So thanks, Nikki, for that. I am going to spend the rest of this roundup dreaming of a 16th century palace. I will say also, we'll be sharing some images in the newsletter this week, but if you go on Google, you can see candlelight events being hosted in the space. And that image of being in a 16th century palace, I'm thinking we light the entire event by candlelight. That's my goal. Thoughts?
Okay, to be determined. Put a pin in that, Mitch.
I see someone come around with a high vis.
I know. The fire marshal of Seville's shutting down the event on minute 2. Anyway, moving along. Matt Newton, greetings from Australia. Is that where you currently are?
I'm in Melbourne, Australia. I wanted to say one thing about your trip to Morocco. I believe that they were actually the driving force. They didn't just assist, but I believe they were the driving force in making it possible for women to lead tours in Morocco and get licensed. I'm not sure if I've got that correct or not, but I do understand that they've done some really impressive stuff. So to have someone from that team is going to be really cool.
Awesome. Matt, what has been going on just in the adventure of your own multi-day tour company? What's been on your mind? How is business been?
Business is really good.
Focused on?
Very, very good. We had close to 100% growth quarter on quarter in the previous quarter. And now we're a few days away from ending this quarter, and we're like 70% quarter on quarter. So we're growing off a small base, obviously post-COVID, but things are going really, really well. Feedback is good, and the team size is starting to get to the point where I'm sort of switching into CEO mode a little bit, right? So the big thing I'm focusing right now on is just communicating the vision and learning. I think the big learning I have at the moment is how much you need to just repeat and repeat and repeat, but also connect the vision to reality as well. So I probably a mistake that I made this quarter was talking too much about ideals and why something matters, but not enough time saying, okay, and here's how we're actually going to put that into practice, right? Here's how you're actually going to know if you're succeeding or not. And that's the next piece for next quarter, I guess. But overall, things are strong. We're getting good levels of inquiry. One thing that is really wonderful once you have a brand that's more established is that the process of taking a booking from inquiry to getting the deposit is just much smoother. I've noticed that as our brands have grown. So we have 3 brands at the moment, and one of them, someone like the conversion rate when from say like a tentative booking through to deposit payment is much slower and much lower, right? Whereas with Patch Adventures, which is much more established, people just coming in, they know the brand, they know what we're about, they know our conditions, they know about all of our points of difference because we've been communicating those regularly, and they close. So things are strong in the business. Very pleased.
Such an interesting point about brand story. I feel like actually all 3 of us could talk about that, or all have questions for you related to that. First of all, the question of building that momentum. It's hard, right? You're doing all of this brand work, and it almost feels theoretical because you're not seeing it translate into sales, or the sales journey is still a grind. And then there's that kind of moment of clicking where there's enough inertia, enough momentum, enough presence out there that you're right, the customer naturally starts to feel more comfortable throwing money your way.
On the 3rd of January, everyone was back from the holidays and everyone was excited, and we sent an email newsletter to the email list. And we're never going to do that again because we got so deluged with leads that it took us 3 weeks to get back on top of it. So now we actually have we've split the Patch audience into 7 equal sizes. And as we announce stuff, we kind of just gradually roll the email out to the different segments on the list in order to be able to spread the load. So this is like one of those kind of nice problems to have. And that's come about through a lot of work, a lot of communication of what we're trying to do. And I think if I had to highlight one thing, given we have a limited amount of time, is that I really keep the team focused on talking and acting like human beings. Right? There's like patterns of language that people develop, and we call it automatic mode in the company. So people don't sit down to write a shit job post. They sit down to write a job post, right? Without thinking that if I just write the same job post that everyone else does, it's just going to be less effective. Same goes with emails. The same goes with Facebook posts, all that sort of stuff. And what we're trying to constantly do is get out of automatic mode, stop using cliched language that other people use, and really be considered in the way we write and communicate. And we recently did a meetup, our first ever customer meetup, and that was the thing they talked about. Multiple people were like, man, do you guys' emails? I don't know, like one of them's like, are you training the staff to do this? I'm like, yeah, actually. And she's like, yeah, because like everyone's so warm and friendly via email. It just feels so nice. And I'm like, oh, that was so rewarding. So yeah, that's something that I would definitely pick up on that has been a nice really critical factor of our success is trying to avoid automatic mode and stay human.
Peter, Syme must not be on your email writing team. When, Pete, I'm ribbing you, and I'm ribbing you because you are in full AI mode right now, but you are looking this week at how AI connects to the experience economy. Tell me more.
Yeah, so after this call, I'm about to jump down on a train to London. 2 of my passions in life, the experience economy and travel technology. Well, the rest of this week is full on because we have the Travel Technology Conference in London for all of Europe. and we have the World Experience Organization Summit, where I'm speaking at. One of our contributors to Tourpreneur, Joe Pine, is also there, meeting him later this week. And the big question I've got at the moment, which I haven't got the answers to, I've got over 200 questions I haven't got the answers to, but the big question is, humans are going to spend more and more time with AI agents. That's just a fact, and that is going to happen. What the AI agents are is a lot of questions. Is it going to be one or two major AI agents that rule the whole life, or is it going to be thousands of AI agents? We don't know that yet, but humans are going to spend a lot of time with their AI. I already spend more of my time with AI agents than I ever spend on Google search, multiple other platforms. So in the minute that we have large language models in WhatsApp and Messenger, we suddenly have 3.5 billion, 4 billion people on AI agents instantly. So it's coming. The questions is, as humans get to live with AI agents more and more, what does that mean for travel? And what does that mean for the bit that really interests me? What does that mean for travel experience? Not the discovery, not the planning, not the dreaming phase, which are all changing. They're changing now in real time. What does it mean when we've trained billions of people to use AI agents when they actually get to the travel experience? As you know, and you heard me rant on before, I always come for the point of people first, experience next, and technology last. But technology is fundamentally going to be embedded in people's lives on a daily basis. Whatever that agent is, whether it's in your phone, whether it's in your earpiece, whether it's in your glasses, I don't care where it is, you're going to be interacting with an agent. And are people going to want that agent to help them on the experience, or just get them to the experience? And the experience is human-led, or is it agent-led, or is it a combination? All these big questions about how we're going to design experiences going forward, deliver experiences go forward, I think is a much, much bigger question than how do I change the customer journey during the dreaming, the planning, the booking phases, which is all hugely important, and AI is impacting on it. The big change for me is how it's going to impact on the customer experience on the ground. And that's what I'm spending the rest of the week with a lot of experts much smarter than me, trying to figure that stuff out.
That's such an important and brilliant point in terms of thinking about AI. I have conversations daily with operators, and often on their minds, they go, I love AI. It's writing my blog posts for me. And they're still really, really focused on generative AI. I love your focus on the experience, because I say this to operators and to guides all the time, that the tour doesn't begin the minute you as the guide see the tour, the participant. It starts the minute they wake up and think about the tour. It started actually the minute they kind of booked with you. But let's say the day of the tour, I wake up and I've got to find a location. I've got to make sure I'm in the right place. I might have a question about the weather. I might have a question about the meeting location. I might be searching through my inbox to find all of the relevant details. There's a whole industry of tech companies that are supporting this part of the customer journey using chatbots, SMS messaging, and we're just on the tip of creating a much more fluid and interesting and engaging customer experience leading up to the experience already. And that's just level one of the opportunities that I think are out there. Matt, are you thinking about this at all in terms of kind of where you're at with the company, or are you just basically trying to answer all sit on a mountain of money?
A couple of thoughts to share. Firstly, I wish the mountain of money was bigger. Let's call it a hillock at the moment. A small bulge in an envelope. In terms of AI, one recent use for it is we do a lot of customer feedback collection, and we've been using it to summarize that so we can share it with our DMCs. I think another thing that we can talk about here is, during the COVID period, like many tourpreneurs had to get an alternative income source. So I spent some time with a company called Affinda. And what Affinda does is automatic extraction of documents. So that's one thing we'll be looking at, is extracting of like passports, for example, to save time there, which I think is an undercovered part of AI, definitely when it comes to extraction. I know that one of the world's largest travel agencies, for example, has signed up with them for this exact reason, to help process customer documents automatically via accurate extraction of ID documents and stuff like that. So that's another part of AI. But in terms of the other stuff, I'm kind of a bit like, I tend to wait till and this is because I have an SEO background. In SEO, you tend to want to wait to see how things flash out. And so with AI, I'm keenly observing to see how things flash out, using that wonderful framework that Peter just shared, right? People first. I think a lot of people in their initial approach to this focus more on efficiency, but you need to think about like, what is more efficient? What is going to help me efficiently achieve my actual goal, as opposed to just efficiently help me save time? And those are often two completely different pathways. So yeah, those are my, I guess, initial thoughts on AI.
When we look at this whole sort of landscape of SEO, AI, marketing, and everything else, things seem to be moving at an extreme clip right now. And you're seeing a lot of the biggest companies jockeying for some pretty big changes to their platforms. You see the beginning of sort of generative AI results being embedded in Google's search results. That, along with things to do, is sort of beginning to really change dramatically and very quickly how tours are being booked. On the marketing end, on the back end of advertising on these platforms like Google and Facebook, Chris, what's on your mind these days? What are you seeing with the operators that you're working with as an agency owner?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things. The first thing is 4 days to go, V4 switch. So, and there's still operators out there who haven't done it yet. So if you...
Don't even tell them what you're talking about. Don't even tell them what you're talking about. Just tell them there's 4 days left. Don't know what we're
4 days
about.
left.
Go back 1 year to episode
and many other newsletters.
The newsletter and see what we were talking about.
Yeah. So there's that issue. I never read our newsletter since, yes. But no, there's another, I don't know what it is, it must be something in the water or something in the weather, but over the last few weeks, I've seen a lot of issues with operators not having access to their own accounts like Google Analytics, Search Console, Tag Manager, but specifically Facebook Business Manager and Facebook Ad Manager. Well, we're working with one operator just now where we just can't get proper access to his Facebook business account because it's been set up and owned by another agency that he really doesn't have any contact with and doesn't really want to have any contact with again. And they're not really being forthcoming and trying to help get the information that we need. So the only solution that he can do is to set up a brand new business account, brand new ad account, and everything that comes with that. With Facebook, it's a little bit different with Google, but with Facebook, you can't transfer a business account from one personal account to another, so it has to be linked to a personal account. So he has to set it up again. And the issue with that means you lose all that data, you lose all the pixel tracking from before because it needs to set up another Facebook pixel. And there's a host of other things that just issues. Even when you set up a new ad account, Facebook will limit your budget you can spend on ads. So if you were, say, used to spending $1,000 a month, you may find you'll only be able to spend a fraction of that going forward.
I've been through that.
Facebook will put a limit on it for the first few weeks, maybe even a few months. Just depends on when Facebook decide to allow that to. It's horrible. So, so for operators out there, please, you make sure you own your own accounts, because if you don't, you could end up having issues like this in the future. At the end of the day, if you don't own your own accounts, you don't own your own data, it's just going to give you more heartache going forward if you ever want to try and do anything or with either yourself or with another agency or anything like that, another third party.
Matt, on the Tourpreneur Multi-Day podcast that you run, you recently had a conversation around an operator who had built a business off of a social media following. I'm wondering if you have any key takeaways in this world of Facebook and Google and social media advertising in general.
Yeah, so we have primarily acquired our customers through Facebook ads. I taught myself how to do it. I'm a bit like that. I could obviously just try and use Chris, but I'm a stubborn marketer at heart. And I'll tell you something that's quite interesting about...
Even with the Tourpreneur employee discount?
You pay him one whiskey, get advice for life, right? we'll see how we go with that one. It might be 2 whiskeys. So it's actually interesting. We're talking about where AI and Facebook intersect. It doesn't get talked about much, but when you do ads on Facebook, it's the AI engine that's matching your ads to eyeballs. And when I first started learning Facebook ads, I would create variations on ads, and I would just refresh incessantly, like every few minutes. And it was so fascinating to watch the AI at work, trying to figure out which ads would work, and how it was making those determinations, gradually sending impressions to that ad, and then sending impressions to that ad. And this one has a bit of success, so I'm going to send tons of impressions to that ad, but I'm also going to try these ads on the side just to see if maybe they'll get a bit of success as well. It was extraordinarily fascinating as an exercise to learn Facebook ads by learning how the AI was perceiving the ads as well. So yeah, as a learning exercise, I know that a lot of tourpreneurs don't exactly have hours to sit there and refresh Facebook all day long, but I did find it personally to be an extraordinary learning exercise. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that there's been a lot of it's like a known thing in the world of Facebook that businesses don't get reach, right? When you post on your organic page, you're going to get 2% reach, right? This is like a bit of a cliche, but it doesn't actually have to be that way, right? So on our accounts, we average 50 to 60% reach when we post organically. And part of the reason we're able to do that is because we're not constantly promoting. So when I see other tour companies out there promoting, because I follow a lot of tour companies, it's just a lot of just in your face, just buy my tour, buy my tour, buy my tour, buy my tour, and content that is not human, it's not engaging. Like people just creating templated Canva posts, right? This tour, that tour. But, humans engage with humans. It's just a general principle of marketing. So even though you would look at our Facebook pages and be like, oh, this is it. Like when we tell people about the reach and the success we're having with Facebook, they just can't believe that what we're doing is it. Because we're just posting your photos with like a not particularly polished caption. And on the back end, I can show you that, yeah, we've gotten a 50% reach on that post. So I would say if you just really focus with Facebook, the opportunity to do well on the organic is still there. So long as you're not overly promotional, so long as you keep it human, so long as you keep very close tabs on what people engage with and what they don't engage with, you can really have a good shot at getting 40, 50% reach on your posts. And when people come through as leads, they're regularly referencing our social media posts. So we know that they're following and then it's influencing their behavior.
I've been saying for years. Tell the story on social. Tell your story about it, of your brand and everything else, and highlight the people behind the business and getting that across. Social.
Yeah, and even looking at our own socials, like
grow a brand, and that's obviously helping with engagement as well. So it's good to hear. One of the questions I've got going forward. Facebook going forward, and I don't know the answer. It's in my head. As we go to large language models inside WhatsApp and Instagram and Messenger, all owned by Facebook. So I'm on WhatsApp and I ask, I want a history tour of Edinburgh. Is Facebook going to reference out to Google and bring in links? Or is Facebook going to reference business pages within Facebook? I think they would want to keep everything within Facebook and not go off to Google. So that's my inclination. I obviously don't know. I have no idea. But we're talking trillions of dollars of opportunity about to be created here. Yeah. And there's a massive fight between Google, Apple, Meta. And are they really going to send all that traffic to web links outside their platform? I'm just raising the point. I don't know. I don't see it. I think it's probably about 5 years ago now, I wrote that sort of tongue-in-cheek article about Facebook buying TripAdvisor, because to me, Facebook are prime for the travel industry. The amount of people are on that platform, they know when people are traveling, they know when they're in destination and everything about them, where they move about, which shops, museums and everything else that they go into. Facebook is absolutely prime for that. And if they actually thought about the travel industry a bit more and became that sort of focus.
Can I tell you about a recent booking?
End up being the next TripAdvisor. No, they are prime for it. Well, if you think this through, and there's a trend of people thinking AI is going to make marketing cheaper. Here's an alternative view. If I'm on WhatsApp and I ask for a history tour in Edinburgh. I'm going to get one answer back from Facebook. So it's laser targeted, perfectly targeted, and that is a buying customer because the question was so specific. So am I willing to pay more for that or less for that? I would suggest I'm willing to pay more for that. So AI actually may take us into a world where it's delivering exactly the customer you want, but you're going to have to pay for it because they ain't going to do this stuff for free. Obviously, they will initially. But this pay for click could become pay for extreme converting clicks and buying targeting your customer.
Yeah, you've paid more for that lead or for that click or for that purchase.
Well,
you
as they say, who has the goal makes the rules, right? But in this case, it's he who has the attention makes the rules. Like there was a lot of talk about data as a new gold. I totally disagree with that. It's attention, right? So a recent example of a booking is actually, thank you to Atlas Obscura for this one. Like a guest of ours came through, saw our ad for a run, and they saw our ad for a run because they visited Atlas Obscura, read an article about a run on Atlas Obscura, went to Facebook, saw an ad for a run trip, clicked through, and booked. So Facebook's ability to understand where you're directing your attention right now, and then show you relevant things. To me, that's the interesting story. But that really stitches together everything we're talking about here, and totally agree that Facebook, Instagram, with Instagram and Facebook together, the potential for them to really embrace it as a travel platform, and obviously one of the highest revenue niches when it comes to e-commerce. It just makes perfect sense.
Comes down to you can have all the most brilliant business models at your doorstep, but if that's not where your company is looking, then they're not going to do anything. I mean, you're absolutely right. It could essentially be a version of a much more hyper targeted and relevant OTA than the types of discoverability that you get in long lists of search results. And it could be personalized, it could be visual, it could be all of the things. But if you've literally got a pair of goggles on and you're looking at something else and thinking about a lot of other things than that, then it's not coming to fruition. A fascinating discussion, great roundup, and
can I actually, before we close off, could I just get one more point on this discussion? Is that all right? I know this is a roundup that's going a bit longer, but hey, I don't get to come up every single week, right? So
you don't invite Matt without expecting a 20-minute roundup to be 45 minutes. Plus, we have to account for the data delay between us asking a question and reaching Australia. So,
coming back
let's
just roll this point about Facebook targeting, right, and understanding interests and stuff like that. The fact that they can understand, it's also a specificity, right? So back in the 90s, many tour brands had to be very broad in their targeting and their reach because of the simple fact that Facebook couldn't reach people with a certain interest, right? So it's going to help us more effectively market our existing tours. But as Facebook and Meta and whoever else have the ability to precisely pinpoint my interests and desires, that creates opportunities for ever more precisely focused tours in terms of design, right? So I think we're seeing women only right now, but I think it's going to be becoming much more targeted than that. We might be seeing chess-related tours, female chess players going on trips together, right? Not just bird watching, but like specific subcategories of bird watching, et cetera, right? Like multiple sub-affinities combined together to create tour experiences. I think that's something that is going to be an opportunity now and going forward because of that. That's my one thought. I just wanted to leave there.
No, now that thought opens up a whole new discussion. I think it's the best way to begin a multi-day tour business. You know, people that are attending Seville, a lot of them are going to be newer operators. Some of them are very well established, but it is a long and tough road to be a generalist in the multi-day world, and it's an expensive road to get started. Nikki, you work at an institution that's somewhere in the middle. Atlas Obscura is offering general tours with their own particular brand vision, but I'm wondering sort of what your view from a scaled operator business, what that looks like in terms of balancing niche audience and vision for a large growing company.
This is full circle because the answer is brand story, in my opinion. It's, Atlas Obscura started with very, very niche trips, and they sold because they have a very, very niche audience, but that audience was it wasn't infinite. So they're doing more general interest, so to speak, itineraries and locations. However, they're doing them with very, very strong brand stories. So, the articles, it's editorial, right? Atlas Obscura is a media company. So they have articles. We're basing itineraries around articles. They're, pulling leaders from articles. They're doing all the editorial work and then using that to build into a trip that, yes, is Egypt, but you're doing a lot more on that Egypt trip, even if you are hitting the main cities, if not the main sites.
It's a great point in terms of brand story. It also connects to what Matt originally said, which was he's working on communicating vision, which is a part of your brand story, with his team. You need a team firing on those cylinders. You need a business that adequately expresses that, because you're right. Once you have that brand story, you can honestly sell.
As long as it fits.
You get people buy.
Yeah, because when I was just in Iran,
as long as it fits.
Just met up with one of our groups as they were landing, and I was talking about one trip that wasn't particularly selling that well, and they're just like, "Yeah, of course it doesn't. That's not a patch trip." And I was like, "Oh, I guess it's not a patch trip." But they were telling me about the mistakes that we made. That this trip didn't fit our brand. So yes, kudos obviously to Atlas for the incredible way they've been able to scale that, obviously with quite a large team, and the consistency they execute on that is quite incredible.
Nikki and Matt, open question to both of you actually. In terms of being an operator that is looking at so many different international destinations, working with partner DMCs, any tips on how you are working with those DMCs to make sure that they recognize and understand your brand in order to deliver an experience that is on brand for your company? Nikki, we'll start with you because you'll be short and concise.
I've also had this conversation so many times with, I know I keep talking about the content creators, but I've been having conversations with them and they're all looking for DMCs, and I've given the same advice every time. That is where it pays to do the work. A DMC might or might not be a fit for a lot of different reasons, but you have to, I'm putting together really, really intricate requests for proposals, tons of brand stuff in there. There's a whole section around brand points, how the brand feels, how it looks like on an experience, really broken down into basic levels that can be translated to someone who's not within the brand. Because sometimes when the brand story is so strong, you know it really well internally, you've taught it to your team, but you have to be able to translate that, right? B2B. So really, really being clear in that request for proposal, reaching out to several DMCs. It takes time, it takes work. Stepping out to multiple per destination, getting on calls with them, making sure it's a good fit, making sure they understand what you're trying to do, the values. I'm on the phone with people and saying, okay, but how many female tour leaders do you have? How many, can you take this article and pull pieces out? How proactive can you be in creating something new? You have to really know, the action, right? It can't be this theoretical, fuzzy feeling of what the vibe is of a brand. It has to really be specific actions that a DMC can take. And all that needs to be presented to them, and then you need to hear them repeat it back to you so you understand it, and then be prepared to push back.
Totally agree. There's a saying in real estate that the money is made when you buy, not when you sell, right? And in travel, I would say the choosing and briefing of the DMC is where the effectiveness of a tour, that's where all the magic happens, right? And I think if you see some of these larger brands, there's been a couple of large Australian brands that have either died or dropped away significantly, and part of that is they just lost their core essence in terms of the trips they were putting together. They were allowing DMCs to put just generic trips, and they just didn't have a culture of pushing back. So we're training our team to be bulldogs, right? If someone brings back to you a trip that doesn't fit, just keep on working and just keep on going. We've taken months to get trips out of DMCs, right? We've walked away from DMCs after working a lot with them, where we just realize they're just not getting it and they're just not going to get it, right? So we call that we do have a process, but when we're doubting on it or when we're talking about it, we talk about the concept we use internally is we call it special feeling, right? So travel is all about this magical, incredible feeling. That's, people buy travel not to solve problems; they solve it it's like emotion, right? And then and what we try to do when we speak to their brand operators is more or less exactly what Nikki just said. We try to get them to repeat us back to ourselves and to make sure they've got it. And we won't proceed with them until we feel like we've had that transference of feeling, right? Where they get what we're trying to do, where they're excited for it. They're starting to pepper ideas at us on the call. They're starting to brainstorm with us. That's when we know they've kind of starting to get it. But if we get the itinerary back and we're not feeling that buzz in the stomach, like, you can meet all the criteria on the guidelines, but if we're not feeling that buzz in the stomach, we're not like burning with excitement to get that trip live, we're not going to put it out until we get there.
Brilliant. I love that. We're going to end there. And I will say, if you actually have a lot more questions for Matt, really easy. All you need to do is book a flight to Seville, Spain, and come and talk to him at Tourpreneur Connect in Seville, where myself, Nikki, Matt, Chris, Peter, and a dozen other speakers will be, as well as some fantastic fellow multi-day tour operators and those that are getting into the business who may be in day tours or maybe just starting out. So with that, thank you, everyone. This is the final thank you. Thank you for watching or listening to the Tourpreneur Roundup. As always, make sure you are part of the Facebook group, the Tourpreneur Digest. Join our virtual events, join our in-person events. And if you don't have any idea of any of those things, then just go to tourpreneur.com and all will be revealed.
Are you interested in adding multi-day to your day tour business? Are you looking to understand growth and scale strategies in the multi-day world? Looking to finally crack the technology stack you need to organize, automate, and grow your business? Then join Tourpreneur in Seville, Spain for Tourpreneur Connect, sponsored by WeTravel, November 27th to 30th, 2023, for an event unlike any other in our industry. Open to strictly 100 operators. Pete, Mitch, Chris, and other industry experts will guide you through the do's, don'ts, twists, and turns of running a multi-day tour business. Not only that, Tourpreneur are giving back as we will be bringing in local suppliers and businesses to help us run the event. We're also opening up the event to a number of locally based tour operators who can attend for free. So join Tourpreneur in Seville for Connect, November 27th to 30th, 2023, and join us for an unforgettable experience of learning and connection in one of Europe's most unforgettable cities. Visit tourpreneur.com/connect for more info.